Welcome to the Brewtiful Game. As always, I am Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And joining us from chilly Minnesota, we've got Ron.
What's happening? It is quite cold here.
How cold?
Today was, the high is -8, or the low is -8.
-8 Fahrenheit?
That's insane, because we're under a warm spell right now in East Tennessee, and it's like 80, and it's really weird.
Yeah, it's pretty chilly. Right now it's 0. We're all in Celsius here, so that means it's 32 degrees, and It'll be 19.
What are you in Celsius in Minnesota for? That's still the USOA.
That's still America.
Because living in China and having a Canadian wife, you just convert.
You become communist. We understand what you're saying there. Yep.
Chelsea equals communist. Is that what CNC?
You've been converted. That's hysterical. Well, on tonight's episode of the Brewtiful Game, learn more about the weather of Minnesota, as we'll also be discussing. We'll be discussing the Arsenal and Chelsea match. We're going to talk a little bit of Man City, of Haaland coming off of the bench again, guys. I think his career's just over, not even a starter anymore. Liverpool returns back to winning days, and we're going to check in on the rest of the action from around the Premier League before we pass it over to the Sultan of Sausage, the purveyor of pork loin. We give you Ron as he disseminates discernible drunken diaries in this edition of Ron's Beer News, before finally closing out the pod and talking about MLS finals, UEFA draws for the knockout rounds, as well as the squad announcement for the favorite to win this year's World Cup, and this edition of the Liga's Roundup. Man, that whole thing with the demoted clubs from the Champions League playing in UEFA, and it feels like such a weird last minute thing.
It's wild this year, isn't it?
Yeah. It's so weird.
It's always been a thing, but it's wild this season for sure.
I really especially because there's so many high profile teams that got the drop.
Exactly. And and some teams even had to pull different levers and go under the mattress to find extra cash, and yet they still went down.
The other reason it sucks, these are teams that are like, well, you know what? Let me make the charge in my league. Nope. You're still gonna have to, do this and go through and live through. So, anyway, before we get into all that soccer, it is time for some beer. And gentlemen, slice. I'm gonna cut through first.
Go ahead.
As I focus,
Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's my little Doctor Who fridge, but this is a little different. As I will slice first, as I use the no mind technique to bring you a little bit of Sun and Steel.
Isn't that a cool can?
Cool. A sake lager.
No kidding.
Brewed in conjunction with Iron Maiden. I am going to send you guys
That's cool.
on our thread the link right now. You need to go to the link just so you can better see the artwork. So Iron Maiden and Robertson Brewery unveil Trooper Sun and Steel, a new sake-infused lager. And it's it's got, what's his name, Eddie, the skeleton-ish zombie character from all the covers of Iron Maiden, but he's dressed in samurai armor. It says, Sun and Steel is the first lager in the Trooper range and is one of the most complex beers that Robinson Breweries has ever produced. A double fermented lager created with authentic Japanese sake yeast. So I'm very stoked to see what this tastes like. The idea for the beer, designed once again by Iron Maiden vocalist and beer aficionado Bruce Dickinson, along with the Robinson's head brewer Martin Weeks, was first conceived during the autumn of 2016 following a meeting between Bruce and friend of the band and longtime Iron Maiden fan George Yusa, owner of the 300-year-old family-run Okunomatsu Sake Brewery in Fukushima. Bruce became intrigued with the idea of putting the two flavor profiles together, and thus Sun and Steel was born. That's pretty rad.
That's
awesome.
Cool.
George,
although I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, hey, you know what I haven't done in forever? I haven't drank around the world at Epcot in a long time. But I was saying the one that always gets you, no matter which route you go, whether you take the Canadian side one way or the Mexican side the other way when you drink around the world, is when you get to Japan and your drink in Japan has to be sake, I'm screwed.
Yep.
I'm done.
That's where it gets you.
You're just screwed for the time. So how the hell do they get that in beer? That's wild.
This is wild. Their little story on this is awesome. George was able to deliver a sample of the sake yeast to Iron Maiden's 2017 concert at London's O2 Arena, which Bruce then took up to Robinson's Brewery, having obtained permission, Robinson being brewery out of the UK, permission from the Japanese government to brew with it. Martin and the team have been carefully cultivating the strain ever since. So they had to get permission from the Japanese government. Been such an exciting project, Bruce Dickinson said. I had a crazy idea to try and make a sake-infused lager, and over 2.5 years later, here we are. I know Martin and the team at Robinsons have had to become a mad scientist to make this work, but the end result is a truly unique hybrid beer that tastes fantastic. Silent Steel takes its name from Iron Maiden's song of the same name that appears in the 1983 album Peace of Mind, which is in turn inspired by the life of Japanese samurai Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman that ever lived. This is pretty cool. It's a hybrid beer, technically, Ron, for your beer nerd of this, because it has 2 yeasts. That's what constitutes it being a hybrid beer.
Right. That's pretty cool.
Where'd
you find it?
Lager for initial fermentation and sake yeast for second fermentation. So there you go. That's even how they did it. That's really cool that they go into the detail of that. My wife scored this, actually. She got oh no. Is this another drop off? No, this is not another drop off from your sister. This one came from my wife, because your sister brought when they came and visited us down here, they brought a ton of beer. I have to get into the other ones. I haven't gotten to those yet. Some of those a little more Christmassy flavored. This one, Kara snagged here down here in Tennessee.
That's awesome.
So there you go.
Nice. What you got, Ferris?
I worked the tap room before the Magic game tonight, so I came from the brewery. Had a shift beer and some wings, and brought back a can with me. So surprise, gonna be something from Big Storm Brewing, and I am doing one that we did a collab with a local grocery store in the area with Winn-Dixie. And it's called Reef Revival Session IPA. And you guys know I'm not the biggest Session IPA fan, but this beer is quite good. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, the biasness, and I get a paycheck every so often from the brewery, but it is damn good and it is clean. But on the can, I'll just read you straight from that, because that's kind of the best way of going about it. Winn-Dixie and Big Storm Brewery will donate a portion of the proceeds from sales of Reef Revival Lager and Reef Revival Session IPA to benefit the mission of Moore Marine Laboratory in preserving the natural wonder of Florida's oceans and beaches. Thank you for purchasing this exclusive Winn-Dixie beers and protecting our ocean and its future. Florida's coral reef has been impacted over the past decades by overdevelopment, pollution, disease outbreaks, and climate change. To bring our coral reef back to life, Moat grows corals to be outplanted onto the reef in an effort to restore the critical habitat that supports oceans, life, and local economy. This session IPA with undertones of mosaic, strata hops goes down easy, great for those days on the water, marveling at Florida's natural beauty. And you can visit www.mote.org as well as www.bigstormbrewery.com.
Nice.
So, isn't Winn-Dixie the beef people? Isn't that what their tagline is? What do they call themselves?
I thought that was Arby's.
Is that Arby's? I feel like Winn-Dixie has a funny...
You know what, though, Blake? I think back in the day they were. I don't know what they are now, but I think back in the day that was one of their taglines. Yeah.
I'm looking it up.
Winn-Dixie beef people. Fresh checked every day. Low prices nobody can beat.
1978 commercial. Winn-Dixie beef people ad.
Yeah,
through the 90s. Yeah.
Yep. I think you're right. That was in the 90s. Now it's there's very few stores of it now. I just was in Florida, but it has changed a bit. But to do a collab that for something that the brewery on the Tampa Bay waters and in the Gulf to partner with a local store in the area and put this together for a good cause to help kind of preserve our oceans and our natural beauty that brings a lot of people to the state is awesome. And I actually haven't had the lager yet that we do with Winn-Dixie as well, but the session IPA is quite good, so I'm excited to have this one.
Well, that is cool, and I'm not knocking that it's cool, but I sent you the little thing from Winn-Dixie that I just found.
The beef people.
You said it was a collaboration with Winn-Dixie, and my brain was like, is it going to be a beef beer? I didn't know if we were going to have some kind of pork slap situation over here.
Yeah, no, I think that like mantra, like you guys remember the lion, the food lion back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Like that was a thing, yeah. Like they all had their own, like, hey, you went to Winn-Dixie for beef, you went to Food Line for this. Like they all had their thing back in the day. Now they're just general grocery stores.
They'll always be the beef people to me.
Beef is what's
hey,
good.
At least it wasn't the Piggly Wiggly.
The old Piggly Wiggly.
The old Piggly Wiggly has some good sausage back in Carolina.
Piggly Wiggly. Oh God, what a gross grocery store. Okay, so I snagged a local beer since I'm in Minnesota. I went to their grocery store and snagged a beer from Two Harbors, Minnesota, from Castle Danger Brewery. That's their, they got a pretty slick logo.
Name. Castle Danger?
Yeah.
Oh, that is cool.
And,
it's kind of old school, like pirate mappy looking kind of logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the rest of their can is kind of similar. When we put up pictures online.
Look at that moose on there.
You'll be able to see it.
So you and I both got lagers. All right.
Yep. So these guys are pretty cool. They have been brewing ales on the north shore of Lake Superior since 2011. And they've been using, local water and local ingredients for all their beers. And they have statewide distribution for their, core group of beers. And the one that I snagged for tonight is called Lager Royale, 4.5 ABV. Lager Royale is a crisp and refreshing premium lager, brilliant golden color with subtle grainy sweetness and low bitterness. A light citrus and herbal note balance out the dry cracker-like flavors and aromas, keeping it flavorful but not overwhelming. You can check out their you can check out their website at castledangerbrewery.com. It's a fun little brewery. And the website has got tons of information on there. So go check it out. It seems to be a pretty cool brewery.
You just reminded me, I did not say the Sun and Steel Sake Lager by Iron Maiden is also a 4.8% alcohol. So it's pretty typical lager.
Good call. I didn't actually say that either. Now that you mentioned, this is a 5% ABV, no IBU.
Well, shall we crack them?
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it in my Big Storm Florida's craft beer forecast as we're getting ready to hit with another tropical storm here.
Right.
Pint glass from the tap room.
Oh man, this beer smells like beer and saltine crackers.
I'm not getting a huge aroma off this one.
I don't know if
I mean, it definitely smells like a lager. I'll be interested to see what the sake yeast provides on this. All right, gentlemen.
Beautifully poured beer. Cheers, gents.
Did you say a beautifully poured beer?
Yeah.
Poured beer.
That
Sorry.
Is not
beautifully.
Are you back to our Brewtiful Games only fan now? Is account? Is that what?
Beautifully? That's true. I was trying to plug that. I shouldn't say plug. Anyways,
just keep digging. Keep digging.
Beep, beep, beep.
What are you plugging? You trying to cheat a chess?
Poured beer. There we go.
Yeah, putting an N on it does not make it past 10.
Hey, by the way, if you listen to previous pods, and we talked about the plug you talked about, the guy using the butt plug to cheat with
And hold on, and you had one that you sent me with sandbags. There's
cornhole.
A cornhole.
They were cheating at cornhole, so we had all this cheating going on in random sports.
There's
you didn't know
cheating in random sports right now. Chess, cornhole, and
the thing is,
fishing.
Not for nothing, but as opposed to chess, you would think if there was a game that involved cheating with a butt plug, it would be a game called cornhole.
Right?
They weighed their bags wrong.
All right. Well, on that note, let's have a beer, gents. Kampai.
Right back at you. Oh. And you know what? I'm not a session fan, but I really enjoyed this session because it drinks so much like a hybrid lager IPA, where you get those hop notes, but it's so muted, it's so nice, it's so clean and crisp like a lager that I just think is a very well done session IPA that I don't get that bite like some sessions have, where if you're doing a session IPA, it's like, it's too much IPA that's put up front, but then it just completely drops out. And you're like, well, what am I drinking the rest of? Like, I just don't want to drink hops. I need some flavor to that. But this is just so beautifully combined.
So,
Big Storm is in no way a sponsor. It's just Ferris jizzing over the beers that he serves.
You know, is it my favorite beer in this, is it my favorite brewery in this area? No, I think you guys know what my top 3 breweries in this area are. But do we make some good beer?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Big Storm throws down, man. They make some good stuff.
And it just so happens that I was working a shift tonight and doing now. So, hey.
I keep meaning to crack
grab
the one.
It and snag it and bingo bango.
The one you gave me at the wedding, the category 5. I need to crack that open.
Oh, yeah.
This lager brewed with also sake yeast is a little hard to put a note on. It's definitely got like a really smooth lager flavor. But it doesn't have that kind of crisp back end, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's like you know how sake's kind of got a little grainy and herbal, not like the flavored ones with like the lychee or whatever, but like that just sort of straight sake, and there's like that flavor on the back of your tongue almost. That's very just grainy, like that. It definitely has that at the end, not near as strong as sake does. If I was just hanging out and you threw this beer in an unmarked can to me, I don't know that I would. I don't know that you'd pick up on it. I think you kind of have to be told it. It's subtle. It's good.
Would crisp back end be the name that you dance under?
Crisp back end.
Back end.
Crisp back end. That is a great dancer name.
Great dancer name.
I dance under that on Tuesdays. They call me Crisp Back End.
Taco Tuesdays with Crisp.
And you'd be well-poured beer.
Freudian slip right there.
Well, this one's definitely got a bit of that bready, crackery kind of malt taste to it. It does. I cannot find any citrus in it as the description that I read, but it is. I think it's just slightly more flavorful than like the true style of what I'm going to call American lager, right? Because German lagers, for some reason, have such robust depth to the flavor. But this one, I think, is a little more flatlined in the flavor than that. It does have that like crisp / bitterness at the end that Blake was talking about lagers having. And it's a bit more bready. It's good. But it's kind of true to the style, maybe a little less than.
I will say this about this lager, not a bit of malt bready flavor at all, like with this thing. I think that sake kind of knocks that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would assume, because you don't get that a lot with the sake. You don't get any bread or anything.
It's really good. It says they have it at Total Wine in Florida, so maybe want to try and snag it.
Oh, interesting.
Well, gents, shall we move on over to the Premier League. First up, London is red, y'all, as they say at Knoxville Gooners. They beat Chelsea 1-0, or I guess that would be 0-1, right? If they're at Stamford Bridge. Former gunner Aubameyang got the start up front. Hey, nothing personal. As Graham Potter and his Blues welcomed Arsenal to the Bridge. But the first half produced nothing of note in terms of the scoreboard. The same was true for Aubameyang as he mustered up only 8 touches on the ball and 0 shots in total. Then just before he was hauled off in the second half for Chelsea's first sub of the game, Arsenal defender Gabriel tapped in a ball from a soccer corner to give the away side the lead. Chelsea lacked to produce any threatening attack for much of anything for the rest of the match. Arsenal went on to take all 3 points and regain top spot in the league. Is that Aubameyang? Is that Aubameyang note the worrying thing for the rest of this season? Because I've lived that Aubameyang problem as an Arsenal fan. What do you think, Ron? Is that?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think when we talked about having this signing, when it was first signed under Tuchel, and for some reason, the widely accepted thought was that because he's going back to Tuchel, he's going to have this kind of Premier League renaissance. And I recall saying on a pod that I was pretty skeptical that he was actually going to be able to produce, because he only produced slightly better when he was at Barca. It's not like he had this massive ratchet up and then, was going to come back to the Premier League flying high.
Well, and what are your thoughts in terms of, like, if you play for Barca or Real Madrid, are you going to score easier against most of the other Spanish teams than you will against average Premier League teams?
But here's also the other thing, though, right? You have people feeding him the ball more so than what Chelsea can do at the current time.
Yes.
So whether it's against easier opposition or not, you have players in the Barca squad. Even then, right? With Pedri and some of the signings that they have, and just a lot of the names are going away at the moment. But you had other attacking forces that were more of a threat. They could then pull defenders, and feed the ball more so. And Aubameyang could get into spots that defenders wouldn't necessarily be very mindful of him in.
He's got one spot that he runs into, the back left channels. Like, that's his comfort zone.
But it's easy to
he's not even
defend.
Doing
right. It's easy to defend in the Premier League with him because of that note, Ron. But also, who else? You then push Havertz back, or you push Havertz wide, and Havertz's best spot is going right down the center and almost being that number, that in the hole guy that sits at the top of the box and just is worrisome. And there was no Pulisic in this. He came on in the second half, didn't do a whole lot. Sterling has torn Arsenal to bits in the past with Man City, didn't really produce a whole lot here. So one of the things that I can compliment Arsenal on so much on how they contained not only Aubameyang, but just Chelsea's attack in general is Arsenal's work rate. They don't have the best defenders. They don't have the best players, but their work rate and that midfield of Xhaka and Partey is right now one of the best midfields, in terms of if you're doing kind of dual sixes or a pivot two in midfield. That's one of the best in the league right now, just based on the balance that they bring each other. And that calmed so many attacks from most teams that they played so far, and definitely did in this game.
Also, Aubameyang isn't going to get you anything else but the goal you drop right at his feet. Like, he's not going to he's not like an Olivier Giroud who would have good linking play. And
but that's not that. I don't think it's entirely true. When he was with Arsenal, he came off of that left side and that left wing, and not as so much as a number 9, and produced a good amount of goals. Is he on form right now? No. Does he? Did he come out with a video pre-match of? I'm back and nothing personal and yada, 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 and all the other crap that he did thinking he was Mr. Highbridge as well. Yeah, he did, and he was entirely wrong on that because he just doesn't have the support there to cater to his best attributes.
What was the rumor that popped up that, and actually very like strong a couple of pods ago, that he might be going to somewhere else in Europe in January?
Wasn't it back to Dortmund?
That might be it.
I think it'd be great to go back to Dortmund, to be honest with you, but I don't remember what that was at the time.
Yeah, I just know there was like that had already popped up.
Well, and going to that Chelsea, and we talked about it in the last pod, it has a lot of injuries. A lot, like when Chalobah's starting on the back line for Chelsea, that's not. He played okay in this game, all things considered.
PSG, that's who that was, by the way.
PSG, that's
PSG,
right.
yeah, that's right. But no Reece James, no Koulibaly, no Conte. Those are core players that help out a lot. And when you have 36-year-old Thiago Silva and Chalobah next to each other, that's a rough go of it. And Cucurella is, I don't know if it's him being caught out a lot, if it's his positioning. Or his hair. Maybe his hair just makes him look like he can't defend because it's just all over the place. He has who was the guy that played for Arsenal?
David
Luiz type effect where it's all over the damn place. You're like, you don't know where your body.
Wait. You're the Man U fan. You didn't go Fellaini first.
Oh yeah, but
right?
Yeah, but Fellaini had one of the best memes of all time when Jack Wilshere's little head was at his stomach.
No, he was nursing him, right?
Yeah, they have hair that just really flies, and I don't know. But Chelsea's defense just had, they held off as long as they could. I mean, just couldn't hold off long enough. No goals from open play though, Ron.
Yeah, just extremely lucky on Arsenal's side and extremely poor defending from a corner kick that went past 3 different Chelsea defenders before it lazily got poked in by Gabriel, who had no choice but to just stick his little toe out to put it into the net.
It was not a good corner. It was not like an in-swinging, beautiful corner where it didn't take a lot. You're absolutely right, Ron.
Although that corner
it looked like he scuffed it.
It might have gone in without Jesus too, though.
Might have, and I love how Saka took credit for the goal, though.
He thought it did because the way it curved in. Hey, who cares? They got the assist.
Oh, and hey, I thought he was hurt, man. He's back all of a sudden. Where did you know? Unbelievable.
So I don't know if you know this, but when a player plays a whole lot and takes a hard hit 35 minutes in, and you got a series of games scrunched up for the World Cup, and you're already winning, you go rest him. And then he did not start the Europa League match, so then he starts this one. That's like they call it player management, Ferris. That's how that works.
Well, all I can say,
excuse me.
All I can say is that you guys, Arsenal certainly deserve to win. I think no one who's a Chelsea supporter can say that the game went against them or the refs had anything.
Yeah, no.
There was one yellow card that was kind of complete BS, but it was completely buried in the fact that Chelsea did nothing that entire match. And Azpilicueta wins a ball, his foot is like waist high, and Martinelli comes in late and kicks Azpilicueta on the bottom of his boot, so therefore gets the studs. Martinelli hits the ground, obvious, because he just smashed the cleats.
Just Neymar rolls it 500 times.
And then Azpilicueta is the one that gets the card for a heavy challenge. But, to be honest, that made zero difference in the complete lackluster performance. Potter got all of his tactics wrong, never changed them. He had a very interesting lineup, for what he had available. And at the end of the day, Arsenal went, after the second ball more. They were more hungry. They had a set of just brilliant one-touch passes to get out of their own end. One of the few times Chelsea have managed to pin Arsenal back. They had about 10 touches that were all one-touch passes that ended up switching play and allowing people just ripping down the Arsenal right side. So all credit to them. Chelsea have a lot. Not only do they have a lot of injuries, but they have a lot of decisions now to make. And not from a sack the manager standpoint.
Although hashtag Potter out trending immediately within that match, which is
that's highly unfair.
But
that's very unfair.
It's unfair. But Potter, unless they thought some other club, not to deviate. Sorry, I know we need to wrap this up, but did they have word that some club was about to snatch up Potter? Dropping to what would be the difference if Tuchel were here right now and they lost? You know what I'm saying? I still don't understand that move yet. Or maybe getting Potter in January. I don't know. It's just weird to me. If this continues on, not that Potter should be expected to just turn everything around, but if this continues on, what did it net you? Conversely, what if Unai Emery totally pulls Aston Villa out of being worried about relegation?
Yeah,
and then the Chelsea.
Here's the thing, and we'll talk about that here in a bit with Unai Emery, because it's you could sit there and there's a lot of similarities to honestly this game and the United and Villa game, right? You can sit there and go, Ten Hag got his tactics and his players that he put out there to start wrong, where Potter did the same, right? But with Potter, he's chopped and changed a lot. We talked about this in the last pod. He's trying to figure out his squad. He's come in 10 games in. He's trying to figure it out. He's chopping and changing. There's no fluidity. There's no sense of constant, here's the same starting lineup. On top of, he's dealing with a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
That is crucial to a lineup that he probably wants to play. So, I'm not trying to be a Chelsea apologist here, but it was only a 1-0 game scored off a corner that was kind of bounced around. This game easily could have been 0-0, much some of the other Arsenal games should have and could have been.
I'm not trashing him in that.
It's what I think, it's those margins and those small things in a game, those slight mistakes, those slight moments in a game that can alter, because this game could have and maybe should have been 0-0, although Arsenal were the better squad on the day, I think deserved the 3 points. But it was that tight of if this corner was just stopped at the near post by a Chelsea defender, this could have been 0-0. So
to be honest,
can you burn Potter at the stake there? No, I don't think you can.
But I'm not burning Potter at the stake.
We're not burning him at the stake. But the simple fact of the matter is that there are so many things going on without a single clear direction. Chelsea has lost all trace of any identity, whether it's midfield attacking or in the defense. Arsenal didn't win this game or weren't the better team because they had better attack or better defense. They played better through the midfield than Chelsea did.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So there is currently no identity for Chelsea. Not only do we have a lot of injuries, and there's a lot of questions about things like Chalobah has played every game this season, and him and Thiago Silva Thiago Silva has played the second most of any Chelsea player. Our defense is tired. It's injury prone. We don't have a midfield that is able to protect us. And for some reason in this match, the thing that is worrying is that Potter did not change the tactics when he saw it was all going wrong.
Where
Right?
he did that in the United match.
He's done it in all the matches so far.
Yeah.
When the things are not going right, he changes people, he moves people around and alternates things. I think the teams that have had success against Arsenal had long balls over the top and expansive wing play. But yet we don't release Mount to the wing. We tuck Sterling in, and Pulisic is not a starter. So if you want people to play on those wings, you have to put the likes of Mount, Pulisic, I just forgot his name. Anyway, you've got to play those balls and spread Arsenal's defense out. We did not do that at all.
And I think you're not burning him at the stake now. However, 2 more matches and he doesn't make those kinds of calls and doesn't.
He's not going to have that because the World Cup's going to come in one match.
Well, fair enough. That could probably not be coming at or I should say that's coming at the best time for Chelsea. But I think it puts him
worst time for Arsenal.
Does it? But I mean, for Chelsea, you're going to have such a compacted season coming right out of it too. I mean, like we say, like for some of these clubs, no, I know that, but they don't need a reset, right? So clubs that need a reset, like a Chelsea,
positive momentum going is going. You and Newcastle.
I'm just going to say, I would rather have positive momentum going into the World Cup than needing a reset. I'm fine with needing positive momentum. We're in a much better spot than needing a reset.
You think? I don't.
What? That doesn't make any sense. If you feel like your club needs a reset,
teams like Liverpool and Chelsea to relax, not relax, but get healthy and retool and get more organized. I don't like that. Both teams have a lot of talent, a lot of really dangerous players that.
So you're saying it'd be better to be screwed like them and needing to reset?
In a way, yeah.
Hell no! I'd rather be top of the league and let them play catch up.
In a way, well, what if
that doesn't make sense?
Yeah, but you're telling me Liverpool doesn't want the World Cup break to happen right now? Absolutely, they do. To want to reset. Chelsea don't want that to reset. Tottenham don't want that to reset. Whereas you, Newcastle, maybe even Man City, but Man City's kind of the exclusion to the rule there. To get healthy, to get organized, to put hold on, let's recalibrate a bit, to come back out of it as if it was almost like the end of the season to the beginning of the summer, the beginning of the season there. And I think it could help Chelsea and Liverpool more so than it could an Arsenal, Newcastle going forward, who are both in the top 3 at this time.
I mean, it doesn't help Arsenal, but it just means they need to keep the momentum as opposed to needing to change everything.
Keep the momentum with a month break.
Yes.
Over a month break. That's tough. That's tough opposed to the playing.
Yeah, but you still act like all these players are going to be available for a refresh, and they're not. They're going to be playing at the World Cup.
Yeah.
So you're going to have clubs. I mean, the only person that gets to stay fresh is Haaland playing, I don't know, the high school teams in Manchester while they're goofing around out there.
But Chilwell and Conte will come back all right.
Yeah.
That's,
Koulibaly, a few others.
All right.
Reece James.
And just to kind of end this before we move on, Arsenal haven't played Newcastle yet or Man City yet. Number 2 and 3 in the table as we speak. So there's 4 matches there between 2 and 3 in the table that the top 3 teams need to all play each other. Interesting.
I mean, I don't know if it's interesting as much as that's just how the schedule works.
But you played how many games right now?
Ferris, dude, you got to let go of the jealousy.
I'm not. You guys are in worse shape for having to play those 2 teams twice now.
We trusted the process, and we're after this point of the season. We've been top of the league for how many weeks? God, I can't recall. Ferris, do you remember?
Hey, talk to me in May.
Hey, man, I'm talking to you right now.
That's fine. When the season ends, where will you guys be in May?
Well, all we got to be is top 4 to
Very
have
true.
made an
You
enormous
guys didn't do it last year. Neither did we. Chelsea was the only one to do that from us three.
That's all we got to do, baby. Speaking of the team that everybody's got to do it against because everybody still acts like they're ahead by 10 points, is Erling Haaland helps propel 10-man Man City to a victory as he comes off the bench in the 64th minute to bury a penalty in the 95th minute. God, just when you thought it wasn't going to happen. Man City looked to have a usual day at the office as Julian Alvarez in for recovered Haaland slotted home a goal in the 17th minute, but less than 10 minutes later, Man City went down to 10 men as give it to me, Paris. Cancelo, thank you, was sent off for a last man challenge on Harry Wilson. Then former United man Andrea Pereira stepped up to bury the penalty, which made it 1-1. Haaland was then subbed on in the second when he scored, where he even scored 10 after coming on before it was called off via VAR due to a rightly being called off offsides. Hey, a rare VAR that was totally correct.
Yeah, right.
Then after U.S. men's national team defender and Anthony Robinson fouled KDB in the box, the Norwegian Terminator stepped up to the spot, killed the target with the match winner. Before then, promptly getting a yellow for tearing off his jersey in jubilation to only reveal that he's made of more sky blue. But you know who did it better? Olivier Giroud this weekend. Did you see that? He got a friggin' red card for his celebration at the end. That man,
I was going to say,
he's amazing.
What was his name that tore it off and said, who am I? Or, Balotelli from Man City years ago when he tore off his shirt and had that same blue under, but it was printed with like, why hate me or whatever the hell it was.
When that gorgeous lumbersexual ripped off his shirt to get that red card and he's looking so amazing for that late winner.
Yeah, how do you give somebody a red like that? Like, give him your number, not your red. Like, you're not a red. Like, just pass him your number. Dude.
There's a second yellow. He was like, I won this game and I want next week off. Deuces. There we go.
He got his wish.
You know what was weird here in this match, though? I don't know if you guys watched any of this. I think it was the USA game. How is it that Fulham looked like they were down a man? Man City.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, that's like the main commentary for the whole match. Man City are down a man, but look, they're up by 2 compared to Fulham.
Yeah.
I think that Fulham got this weird sense, and I'm not in any way saying this is justified, but got this weird sense of overconfidence because they were up a goal and a man, and they were like, we can breathe and slow the game down, and we'll ride this out. But you can't do that against City.
No, you need to put another one. You got to put another one on that scoreboard, which I mean,
yes.
It was a very weird way that they felt like they capitulated the game to them by playing the classic prevent defense.
Right. Prevent you from winning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every freaking time. Where's Fulham sitting at right now? They're 9th with 19 points. I mean, doing better than last year, right? They were pretty scary.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're doing better than a lot of the promoted teams, right? Because they were just promoted this year. You know, this match is one that it's weird, right? Because you think Man City are in such a bad spot going down on the road or at home, but to a Fulham team that has plenty of attacking options, has plenty of players that have scored a good amount of goals and created chances, and yet still it never seemed like Man City was in any sort of trouble, that they were going to lose the game or that they were going to concede more goals because of their style of play, their possession, and how they went on to make it look like they were up by 11 opposed to 10.
Yeah, why you never take the easy route or slack off while you're playing Man City? I don't care if they're down to 9 or 8 men. Every one of those guys can score. What are you thinking?
You just put your foot on the pedal and keep going.
Yeah. Brutal. For the rest of us, because we just wanted to see Man City win. If you're a Man City fan, you loved it. You're just fine with that. Now, moving on, unless you guys have anything else for that match, I'm going to swing us into Liverpool finally returning to their winning ways in the league as they held on the road to beat Tottenham Hotspurs 2-1. But more importantly, to every Liverpool fan, they just announced they're selling the club.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a first-half brace for Mohamed Salah capped a much-needed first-half performance from the Liverpool team, who have been lacking goals of late. Tottenham did their best comeback performance with their comeback kid, Kane, who slotted home a goal in the 70th off a ball from, give it to me, Ferris.
Dejan Kulusevski.
But can't say Christian Pulisic.
Nope.
But it was not enough as Liverpool held on to get all 3 points, and they're first in the league since October 19th as they moved up to the 8th in the table.
This Liverpool team, I mean,
it's a lot of talent on it. I mean, we said that last pod, right? Like, there's a ridiculous amount of talent. That bet you made about whatever, I forget how you put it, but that weird bet about where would they be at the end of the season, it's just kind of hard to write them off. It's a lot of talent sitting out there.
Yeah, and oddly enough, I don't think the talking point was so much Liverpool here, because you know what you can get with Salah, right? You know, you're going to get goals, you're going to get class, you're going to get goals when the team needs it. But the multiple sides of Tottenham and a Conte Tottenham is interesting because they can look so strategic and dominant in a game by playing such a reserved kind of sitting back and then countering so fast.
Have they beaten a typical top 6 team this season? What would we consider a top? I don't think they have. Right?
Have. How did they do against Newcastle? Newcastle beat them.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you might. It's just weird. Like the Tottenham team is so odd that the first half was totally Liverpool. Second half was totally Tottenham.
Yeah.
Liverpool had to withstand that. It's just, it was almost, the game should have been 1-1 just because of how both of these teams play, because they've been such EKG eaters all season, where the highs and lows, and one half they're great, one half they're not, one half they're playing well, one half they're not. Both of these teams. And Tottenham's just gotten more points. That's why they're up to 4th, and that's why they're in the top 4, and Liverpool just haven't gotten that yet.
I think it's going to continue to be a choppy season for both teams. I think Liverpool, need to get back some key injuries and kind of need to really work on that midfield through the attacking. And Tottenham just needs a bit more identity aside from Song and Kane. Right?
Højbjerg's kind of like poking his head to be that, but as like a number 6 almost, or a box-to-box midfielder, it's hard to be that.
Yeah, and he's inconsistent, right? So Some games he's really solid and, really present, making tough tackles and really insightful passes. And other games you're like, did he even play? So I think there's a bit of a, some soul searching that Conte and Tottenham need to do and kind of figure out what kind of team they are going to be. And also I think they need to, Tottenham also has been a bit uncomfortable because they seem to be switching formations a lot. In this one, they played a 5-3-2, which, man, I don't think they've played that very often this season. So I don't know. I think both of them have a lot of figuring out to do.
Well, yeah, and they're both teams that want the World Cup to happen so that they can kind of soul search during that 30-some day break.
Yeah, here the only thing I don't like is I don't like a Liverpool starting to be talked about like they're underdogs. For whatever reason, that talent and Klopp,
you're not wrong.
That worries me. That I'm like, all right,
not wrong.
Let's do this. Where some other clubs we've been seeing like aren't responding with that kind of attitude when they're having a slip. I could see those guys having that kind of attitude. Like, all right, MFers, let's do this. And that I don't. That I'm not too keen on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they come out of the World Cup.
I mean, they did beat Man City. Let's don't forget that too. I mean, we're talking about how good Man City is.
But they also lost to Nottingham and Leeds, so there's that.
Hey. Speaking of Leeds, should that move us on to get through the rest of the results? All right. Jesse March and Leeds do it again. Man, what a freaking match. And so does Mr. Somerville as he once again scores the game winner, but this time in a 4-3 shootout with Bournemouth. Man, what a match.
That was fun.
Absolutely. And like Bournemouth seemed to get into these like 4-3, 4-5 games just because their style of play. And it's so fun, but not fun for them sometimes. Because they just give up so many goals. But man, good for Leeds for sticking with Marsh during this time, and kind of you could tell the players want to play for him, and that can't be said for teams like Villa where they didn't want to play for Gerrard anymore, and so good for Leeds and that team. And guess what? Leeds are up to 12th. Like, I know it's tight, but they're up to 12th where they were in the relegation zone, 2 matches ago? That's just 2 games just takes you that far up the table.
Yeah. It's I mean, well, the table is ridiculously tight. I mean, from Liverpool at 8th to Brentford at 11th. It's 16th for Brentford. Everybody else above them is at 19 all the way up to Liverpool. Like, it's a very tight situation. I mean, even these clubs, not that I think Nottingham will mount a comeback, but I mean, it's still really tight down there. And some of those smaller clubs might do really well coming out of the World Cup break.
Yep.
That might be the chance for them to gain ground more than what happens to up top. An own goal in the 96th minute salvages a point for Forest as they give up a first half lead against Brentford to make it a 2-2 in the end. Speaking of Forest, thought they were going to try to make something happen, but
right. For once?
Yeah.
What? I mean, just to get a point out of this, honestly, to salvage a point, it's just a 96-minute own goal that was like 90. I think it was only 98 in the game or something like that in terms of what the extra time was. It just,
I mean, they just got to win.
No Ivan Toney in this match, though. That's crucial because Ivan Toney, you feel like, could have been that 3-2 decider in this to get Brentford the win, but no prolific striker, possibly England call up here for the World Cup. We'll see, but no Ivan Toney because of yellow card accumulation. So probably a fair 2-2 draw when it comes down to it.
And this is only their second non-loss of the season.
Yeah.
Who? Nottingham. That's wild.
They beat Liverpool 1-0, and they drew this game.
Yep. Wild.
I mean, if they won their next match, they could potentially be out of the bottom 3. I mean, that's still how tight it is.
Right.
I mean,
true.
Boom, moving on. A Pascal Gross goal in the 84th minute for Brighton was the match winner following a 4-goal first half against struggling Wolves. 3-2 to Brighton. That's the bet you should have made, Ferris, was, will Brighton end above Chelsea?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know,
There's
buddy.
no way. I would make that right now, but are you going to take it? Is Ron going to take it? No, so it's a stupid bet.
It's tempting. Let's talk to me after we get back from the World Cup. We haven't had a good bet in a while.
That's true.
Yeah, what beer did we discover? Somebody discovered a bad beer we could use.
The White Castle IPA that Ron sent us. Apparently it's a beer.
Yeah, opens up the sluices on both ends.
God almighty.
I love the tagline of "It hits differently."
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it hits the bottom of the toilet differently every time. Sorry, a little too much.
I mean,
it gives you a good case of the sputters.
I mean, you don't necessarily speak the truth there, Ferris. I mean, I can't think of another beer that we'll see if it tastes nice twice. Leicester City win their 3rd game in 4 as they beat Everton 2-0, courtesy of Tielemans Worldy to end the half before Harvey Barnes secured all 3 points for Brendan Rodgers' side. Leicester City, I don't want to say creeping back up. They're in 14th with 14 points, though. I mean, they just needed to start winning. They look.
How How does Tielemans always get these balls at the top of the box that he could just it seems like
Just
every
perfect.
game he's hitting one from out the top of the box. And this one, he played it off his chest and kind of bounced down and was, half volley, whatever you want to call it. The ball was in the air when when he hit it. Just absolutely wonderful strike to the top 90. And just, but
his
can you
contract's
think
up,
of
by
a
the way,
player
right?
right now that seems to get that all the time?
Is his contract up January or the end of the year? I think he's up the end of the year.
I think it's end of the year, right? Because that's why he was really being talked to be signed.
Yeah, so there's a
This
good
season.
chance that he just won the game for him. There's a good chance they could sell him in January to try and make some money.
To Newcastle United.
Newcastle United, Arsenal at one point was after him. Who Chelsea I think was after Tielemans too. I can't remember who.
That was
who
a
was
while ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was
they could still end up losing out larger in that situation. Newcastle, they score 4 again as they move up to third on the table by way of a Southampton win 1 to Newcastle. Jeez, they're on a roll.
Awesome.
Orlando United, Miguel Almiron, 7 games in a row.
bye Hassan Huddle.
So 7 goals in 7 games in a row. And bye Hassan Huddle. Yes, sorry, Ron.
They are on fire, and they might be here to stay. And Almiron just on fire. Thank goodness he doesn't play for Atlanta United anymore.
Yeah, right.
That's
I'm happy to see an MLSer go there and
sure.
Succeed
do as well as he has. And he had been at Newcastle for
2 years now. Yeah.
2 years before he really kind of arrived this season, right? So I'm happy to see him go there and come from the MLS and make some waves this season.
And kind of along those same lines, Hassan Huddle have been at Southampton for the past 4 years. That's actually a pretty long time for a manager in nowadays game.
I think he was my first sack.
Yeah. But to not get necessarily the funds up until this year to be a club that pretty much promotes talent and then sells them off, like you're always going to battle there in the 15 through 20th range. And I'm sure we'll see Hassan Huddle's name go on in Spain or go on in Germany and do well with the club. But yeah, as they depart going into the World Cup under new ownership, because they did have new owners come the start of the year, be interesting to see if Southampton can stay up this year, because that'll be their main goal for now until May.
So the rumor is that Southampton is going to make a play for Luton Town manager Nathan Jones.
Probably a good signing for them, in all honesty, based on the talent and what their philosophy is there at the club. Yeah,
and if they go down, he'll stay with them and get them back up.
True. We forgot to mention Lopetegui comes back to be Wolves' manager as they finally announced their manager. So Julian Lopetegui comes back.
If there ever was just a name that you threw out and it sounded like a random character on The Sopranos, that's it right there.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace, they snatch all 3 points from West Ham. West Ham, as they get their first away win of the season, courtesy of a Mikel Olise goal in the 94th minute, 2-1 to Palace. Dude, West Ham.
Good win for Palace.
Yeah, great win for Palace. West Ham just,
woof,
man.
Where did they go this season? They had such a bright season last year, and this year they're just floundering.
No Mark Noble. No, it's not. It just seems like they're just not. They're not connecting fully.
They are so lucky. The other clubs are in this that are so dire, because this could have been a year they do get relegated. I don't think it'll happen because of who's below them, but they should get together. They should get their crap together.
Yeah, I mean they're right there in the center of Leicester and Everton, and we talked about them for weeks on the pod of being in the bottom 3. So yeah, it's 14, 15, and 16, but West Ham just -3 goal difference. Ugh. Not good enough for them.
No. And then lastly, 2 quick goals, another new manager bump, ignite Aston Villa to a 3-1 victory over Manchester United, and Unai Emery's first match on the bench for Villa. What a manager bump that was, because Manchester United was kind of on a roll.
Yeah, and I texted you guys. Fair play to Ella. They capitalized on their chances early, and as Ten Hag said in his post match, the game was essentially won by the start of the first half and the start of the second half. Yep. And yeah, there's some United injuries in there, but enough players on there really should have gotten the job done. And Villa came out hungry. They came out first to balls. They were more connecting on passing. They looked like they wanted to play, that Steven Gerrard was kind of off their shoulders, and they wanted to play for themselves and play for their manager in the crowd, which was great at Le Parc. Interesting from Ten Hag on the other side, though. Donny van de Beek gets a start. Not good midweek in the Europa League. Cristiano Ronaldo gets the captaincy.
Yeah, that was
his
weird.
Explanation of the captaincy didn't quite say, "Hey, we have confidence in you, Ronaldo." Like, "Hey, Casemiro doesn't speak a whole lot of English. David De Gea is like all the way back there." Like, it was very weird press explanation of why he got the captaincy. And in my opinion, I love Ronaldo. I absolutely do, and he's the GOAT in my eyes. But in this United squad and what Ten Hag's trying to build, he is a super sub at best. And he should not start a game. And
De Gea has been playing great. If you had named him the captain,
De Gea was not a problem with this at all. Yeah, I would have absolutely backed De Gea as captain.
Yeah, that made no sense to me. That just felt like trying to appease the situation, but in the end, I think probably made it worse.
And how much does Bruno Fernandes have an impact in this team when he's in, right? He was on a yellow card accumulation and suspended for this game. His ball movement, his holding up, his vision on the field is why that midfield three of Casemiro, Eriksen, and him works so well. You had Donny in that. Donny's just kind of all over the place. Like, I want him to do well, but he's just there, but not doing anything productive. It's odd.
Yeah, I feel like Unai Emery flipped the coin again. I feel like Unai Emery just told the Villa players, "Can you go out there and have fun?
Yeah,
and
sure.
just play because you love the game. After that, we'll worry about everything else later."
Yeah, we'll get it all together later.
Villa have had this much more it looks like just the weight has been lifted and they're just playing for fun again, right?
Yeah, sure.
You see them cracking jokes with each other and doing all kinds of things that they haven't done in a while. So the morale of the team, you can tell, is much better. So Villa should be doing pretty well under Unai Emery going forward, I bet. It's going to be, you're going to have your ups and downs as every club has, but I think Emery will do more good for the team than bad.
Agree. Do you boys want to know who I heard from later that day after the match?
Matt Call.
Of course I did.
Yeah, I was wondering if you'd hear from him.
Oh yeah. He sent me an Instagram message. Absolutely.
He had some compliments for. Did he compliment you on your character voices, Ferris?
No. It was a nice wink at the Villa post of a 3-1 score.
Yeah.
Fair play.
I like the. I texted him. He said something about. He goes, "We need a new manager every week. Seems the only thing that motivates these guys."
Yeah,
he
did say that.
I said, "Hey man, I'm pulling for you. A losing Man U always makes for interesting Ferris at recording time." He says, "Yep, so are the ones where one you don't tell them you're planning to do a Halloween theme, and Ferris has to do an impression."
So what's funny is my wife listened to our supposed Halloween podcast, and she was like, "Please don't ever do those voices again." She was like, she's like, every episodic media has a low point, and that is yours.
Now this makes me want to bring it back. I'm not gonna. It feels like a challenge at this point.
It's so stupid, but I do.
We'll see if this
play. We're off to Ron's Beer News. The salty love sauces.
We are off.
This is so stupid.
That's a good segue, though, Ferris. That's a segue to slide over to the Sultan of Sausage as he disseminates discernible drunken diaries in this edition of Ron's Beer News.
I feel like you
by
should
the way,
turn
I
that-
have so much fun writing that every week of finding just letters and words that can go to something as ridiculous as just trying to describe what Ron brings with his awesome beer.
I hereby challenge the two of you to make it a rap.
Ooh, we can do that.
Hamilton
we can
style.
absolutely do that, Blake.
Oh, yeah. If Matt thought we were bad at impressions, just wait till we rap. Yeah, that'll be top quality.
It was a clear moon night.
Yeah,
We can go off.
Yeah, your wife thinks we've hit the low point.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet there, Skippy. Not yet.
That's coming.
There's a false base.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about two of our favorite things: beer and soccer. In this case, we'll put them together because the World Cup is quickly upon us.
So weird.
AB InBev is the official beer partner of FIFA. And as we all know, it's in Qatar this year. Qatar is largely a Heineken city. So there is a lot of lawsuits and complaints and all that, but we'll leave that for another time. What we're going to talk about today is all of the insanity about selling beer in Qatar.
This sounds awesome.
Damn it. You breached some of my questions, my new game going into the World Cup. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, you'll get over it. So AB InBev, this is a bold statement from them. AB InBev expects more beer to be consumed in the 1 month of the World Cup than 2.5 years of normal consumption in Qatar.
Jeez.
Now, contrary to rumors and what you see on the internet, Qatar is not a dry country like Saudi Arabia is. It merely restricts who can buy alcohol and where you can buy it. So beer and liquor are available in high-end hotels and specifically permitted restaurants. That's how it is currently. A pint of Bud goes for $16 US.
So we're talking New
One
York
pint.
City prices here. All right.
Sorry?
So we're talking New York City prices here. I got you.
Yeah. A case costs $51 US. Now, beer and liquor are, as I said, are only available at high-end hotels and specifically permitted restaurants. And they will sell to pretty much any of the Qatar locals except for women in their required dress. So if you're an expat lady, I think that's okay, or a foreigner, you're okay. But if you're a local in your required dress as a female, they will not sell you alcohol. Mostly, alcohol is seen as kind of growing Qatar into a modern expat, but on the other hand, into a modern expat central business district, like in those areas. But on the other side of the coin, they feel it's kind of a slippery slope that leads to hedonism. Public drunkenness is technically illegal and punishable by 6 months in prison and an $850 US fine. Even though you can regularly see white-collar expats and locals getting wasted at boozy brunches, and it's okay as long as they stay in the confines of those permitted restaurants and hotels. But you take a step out onto the sidewalk, that's where you get in trouble.
Something's going to happen, right? I mean, there's just no way.
I can't wait. We believe me, we're going to cover this on our World Cup, but something's going to happen. It's going to be all over social media. Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's a couple of things that Qatar has done to kind of hopefully corral the alcohol sales.
First, they said no Jamie Vardy can play for England.
Right. You can only blatantly advertise beer where it is permitted to be sold and consumed.
It's in like corrals, right? That they have in the World Cup now?
Well, I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So when you land at the airport, you will not see, Budweiser, beer of the World Cup ads anywhere. What you will see, as AB InBev is kind of slowly breached around the rules a little, is you will see things like the Budweiser bow tie logo splashed behind a picture of Lionel Messi, running with the ball, right? So they have kind of not so subliminally splashed their logo in places.
Nothing says St. Louis, Missouri like Lionel Messi.
Yeah, right. So you can see those, but you can't see official beer advertisements except for, like I said, where it's permitted to be sold and consumed. Now, FIFA can only sell beer in select fan zones and inside the stadium perimeter up to 3 hours before the match and 1 hour after the match. So it's going to be a very specific time frame where all these places are going to be able to sell beer. And then one other interesting fact that I thought would be cool to know is that AB InBev has been training 6,000 locals to pour beer correctly, because as part of the permit, only locals are allowed to pour the beers. So you can't bring in people from other countries and give them jobs to pour all the beer. It all has to be locals. So AB InBev is training 6,000 people to pour a beer.
That's bonkers.
So teach a man to drink a beer, he'll drink a beer. Teach a man to pour a beer, he'll drink forever.
There's so many of these things, and we'll cover it here soon, but happening in Qatar that like none of what you just said surprises me, but like God, FIFA's corrupt. Like, that's all. I don't know.
It's the whole doing it in late winter. Every time like you hear something, though, I mean,
it's just
there's another reason to maybe it wasn't a good idea. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, exactly. It just adds on to the reason that it's not a good idea.
Yeah, there hasn't been like a shining, hey, heck yeah, let's do this. Oh, FIFA.
The only good thing about it here in the States is John Hamm gets to play Santa Claus on the Fox commercials. Like Mad Men gets to be in a red suit and a white beard and have a scotch as he drives down a sleigh in New York City with Pulisic on the thing. Like that's cool. But that's about it.
I can't wait to see what the actual stats of beers consumed and all that actually comes down to for AB InBev. And then I want to take those stats and run it past beer sales at other World Cups and see how much, because everybody's going to put on this amazing face like, oh, it was groundbreaking and it was amazing. And, FIFA is going to control the narrative to show that, see, we should have done this. We did the right thing. I'm willing to bet beer sales are going to be considerably down. And even though over this 10-year period of being the official partner of FIFA, because AB InBev has this as part of their second World Cup as a sponsor, it's not going to be as lucrative as they expected.
No, it's just paying for clout at this point. I mean, I guess the commercials, right? But they're still paying separate for those. I don't know,
But you know what I think is going to end up happening? You're going to end up seeing. At watching the World Cup, you're going to see so many beer advertisements along the crawl in the stadium, and there's going to be so many commercials for Budweiser so that they can do that. They can advertise more heavily in markets like the UK and the US and Canada and Mexico to kind of make up for what they're not selling at the actual stadium grounds. So look out. There's going to be a boatload of advertisement during the World Cup for Budweiser.
Well, I'll be drinking my locally brewed German beer while I watch their matches get played over there. All the U.S. men's national team and German matches will be played over at my little German brewery I enjoy so much.
If there was ever a World Cup for Ireland not to be in, this is it.
Yep.
Fair enough. All right, Ferris, you want to take us out some La Liga's roundup here?
Sure. Why not?
Just crack it. Rip that bad boy
WTF,
open.
mate. Boy, oh boy, was the MLS Cup Final just absolutely nuts. Now, we can't possibly do justice to the energy, the highs, the lows, and the broadcast of what is being considered the best MLS Cup Finals ever. So, we'll just set the stage. And if you weren't aware, we'll run through kind of the chronological order of this match because it is wild when it plays out in that fashion. All right, so setting the stage, playing on Big Fox at 4 p.m. on Saturday afternoon here in the States. 4 p.m. Eastern start. First in the East, Philadelphia Union took on the Supporter Shield winners, and first in the West, LAFC, at their home stadium of Bank of California Stadium. Both teams were tied on points at the end of the regular season, but LAFC had more wins, but the Union had a better goal difference. The way the MLS does it is the more wins is what is that higher seed between the two. So that's why they're able to play the final at the Bank of California Stadium, because LAFC was technically the higher seed going into it. All right. So with that being said, here's the timeline. In the 28th minute, Kellen Acosta, U.S. men's and national team player, scores from a free kick, which deflected off the wall to make it a 1-0 scoreline for the home side. That was pretty much your first half. Nothing to really okay, this is kind of just going as LAFC kind of predicted here, and it's just, it's a nice first half. Second half and beyond is where it takes flight. 59th minute, Union ace Daniel Gazdag slots one home in the box from a semi-kind of blocked, muffed shot almost by teammate Jose Martinez. Apologies. Same blonde hair thing going there, but 1-1 after an hour of play. Here's where it really takes flight. 83rd minute. Jesus Murillo heads home and I apologies, I'm going to butcher these names, so just go with me here. Heads home a corner in front of the supporters' wall to make it 2-1 to the home side. So in the 83rd minute, you think LAFC is going to go on, win the final, bingo bango, scores in front of the supporter end of story. Well, just 2 minutes later, 6'6" center back Jack Elliott heads home a free kick from a cross into the box and beat Maxime Crepeau near post to make it 2-2. So in the 91st minute, it ends 2-2, end of full time, and now we go on to play 2 15-minute halves of extra time. So there's no golden goal anymore. So you play two minutes of halves, so regardless of who scores first, you play those out, and the final score at the end is what kind of rings true. So an important point of note is Gareth Bale gets subbed on in the 97th minute for Carlos Vela. This is Bale's first appearance in the MLS Cup playoffs the entire time. He has not played in any of LAFC's previous 2 matches. Now, 109th minute between the 116th minute. So the first bit of the first bit of extra play going into kind of just a very long time. LAFC goalkeeper Maxime Crepeau comes out of the box to stop a breakaway chance from Union forward Corey Burke. Crepeau stops Burke, but the challenge is rightly deemed a red card. The ref on the field showed it a yellow, but his assistant referee on the sideline said, no, that's a red. And yes, it was a red. It was a last man challenge on Burke. Now, what we later found out was Crepeau actually broke his leg on that challenge. He essentially put his body on the line to stop this goal, which was looking like it was going to occur.
And
So-
you could, real quick, you could see it in real time.
Yeah.
And actually, if you were paying attention, you knew he broke his leg before it was changed to a red, because he was sitting on the ground complaining to the ref while the ref gave the yellow card.
Yeah.
And then he tried to stand up, and the bottom half of his leg just wobbled out from under him as he basically broke his tib and fib.
Ugh.
And basically halfway up his shin, and his leg was left at Albuquerque, if you know what I mean. So then he falls back to the ground while this whole decision about whether or not it's a red card, and the poor guy gets a red card while he is being attended to by the physicians.
So when he's back,
rightly so, though, by the way.
when he's back
Yes.
next season, does he have to get suspended a game where he's allowed to play?
Maybe. Well, and the sad thing is he's the Canadian, I think, backup goalkeeper that would have gone to the World Cup as well. And Ron, I'm very impressed by what you just said, because Tib and Fib is the name that I dance under in Albuquerque, every so often. So, but on came a backup keeper, John McCarthy, for a forward who was actually subbed on earlier in the 74th minute. Fun thing about John McCarthy, gents, is a Philly boy, played for the Philadelphia Union prior to this. Remember that name going forward. So now LAFC are down to 10 men, right? Because of that send-off of the goalie. So they subbed out a forward, put on the goalie because you have to have the goalie in net, yada, 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 whole thing. 124th minute. If you're doing math, when you play 2 extra period times, it's 15 minutes. The end of 90, that equals up to 120 minutes. So because of that injury that we just said, there is 9 minutes of extra time. So in the 124th minute, Jack Elliott, 6'6", taps in a ball off of a corner that bounces to him. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, the Union are going to beat LAFC at home in this insane final. But wait, it gets even crazier. In the 128th minute, so 1 minute prior to what should be the end of the game, because there was 9 minutes of extra time. So we played 90, played 2 15-minute halves. It should have ended at 120. We're now going to end at 129. At 128, just a minute. Not Christian Bale, not Batman, but Gareth Bale jumps up and wins a header over 6'6" Jack Elliott, who scored the previous 2 goals, to absolutely score the biggest goal for LAFC that they probably will ever get, to tie the game at 3-3. And that's how we end and go into penalties. You're thinking, this is freaking wild so far. How the hell is this going to even... This even beats Schlegel going into goal for Orlando City a few years back. This is just wild. So then we could go to pens, and you're like, okay, LAFC has to have this, right? They just have to. Well, Christian Tello steps up and misses his pen in front of the supporter crowd. Christian Tello plays for LAFC. Missed the first pen. You're like, oh my god, this is not really going to go this way. They score so late, they make it 3-3, and he misses the pen. Well, don't worry, Daniel Gazdag, an MVP favorite for the league, then misses the next pen. So now it's tied. So then LAFC make the next 3 pens, and the Union don't make a single pen. There's a few saves there by John McCarthy, the backup keeper, who ends up being the MVP of this game, coming in to make some saves against a team he used to play for in his hometown team because he's from Philly. And LAFC go on to win the MLS Cup for their first time in their career. Supporter Shield winners, they break kind of that curse of winning the Supporter Shield and winning the Cup in front of their home supporters crowd, which was a sellout of 22,384 in attendance. It is absolutely a truly Hollywood ending for LAFC. Congrats to them and the ownership group, which is led by Will Ferrell. What a final, boys.
Probably the best MLS game ever played to date.
You're hard pressed to find another one that's any better.
As a final, absolutely, and just as a game in general, I mean, good grief.
Aside from a massive break, an injury to a player, that notwithstanding, just a game that couldn't get better if you wrote it, and then it did. I mean, in the 124th minute when Jack Elliott pokes that ball into the net, it was the latest, it was the record for the latest goal scored in an MLS game. Well, forget about being a final.
Correct. Yeah.
But then Gareth Bale comes in.
Yeah. And breaks that.
And breaks that record. Like
a scratch golfer comes in and breaks that record. Unbelievable.
Oh, just insane.
I don't know if we said this on the pod or not, but I've been kind of one. The final should be on a neutral ground, right? Kind of how the Super Bowl's played, or kind of how the FA Cup's played at Wembley, this type of thing. But in all honesty, I absolutely love that this was played at the top seeds stadium because of the ups and downs of that crowd and what they went through. And yeah, it played out to their advantage there at the end, but just the wild nature of it all. To get a 3-3 game, and technically on the score sheet it ends 3-3, right? But then LAFC wins because of those pens. And you get one and one in the table. You get first in the East, first in the West. Like this couldn't have played out any better for what the MLS is trying to promote and what these teams are doing, because it was a final for the ages, and one that I don't think you're going to be hard-pressed to top this final and to top this game going forward.
And it gave us the video I just sent you guys of Will Ferrell drinking beer out of the MLS Cup.
Very true.
It's the only way we were going to get that. Hank the Tank. Amazing.
The meatloaf.
Ferris, you want to pull this?
I never know what she's doing back there. Anyways. WTF, mate. The UEFA Champions League and UEFA League draws for the round of 16, which are going to take place in February, were determined today, Monday 7th, as we are recording this pod. So let me quickly run through what the draws were. Some interesting, tantalizing matches coming forward here. Liverpool play Real Madrid. Big time, big puncher right there. Milan
Real Madrid is beating them every time.
Every time.
Yeah. Awesome. Milan play Tottenham. That's interesting. Olivier Giroud used to play for Arsenal. Will he go topless against Tottenham? Can't wait.
Let's hope so.
God, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. PSG. They don't play Club Brugge. They don't play Benfica. No. They play this little team called Bayern Munich. Pretty cool. Inter play Porto. The Christian Pulisic derby. Dortmund play Chelsea.
Yeah.
Frankfurt play Napoli. Leipzig play Man City. A more interesting match than you would probably initially think of. Leipzig has some Timo Werner coming back. I mean, you have some interesting things there that Man City are going to have to really pay attention to. And then finally, Club Brugge play Benfica. When it comes to round of 16 draws, these are the matchups you want to see. You don't want to see Club Brugge playing Man City or Real Madrid. You want to see Liverpool playing Real Madrid. You want to see PSG playing Bayern, and them, having to work for getting on to the next round. So quite a good round of games there in the Champions League. And we go over to the Europa League, and it gets even more interesting because remember, some of these teams that didn't advance in the Champions League then go down to the Europa League. So your biggest match probably coming out of that is Barcelona and Man United. Not in the Champions League, in the Europa League. What's next for them? The Europa Conference League? One can only hope. Let's get that tournament on the map. Like, you know what kind of money do we have to find under the mattress? What kind of levers do we have to pull to bring out finances to buy these insane players to go down a league and be absolute because both of these teams know how to do it. Both these teams are in debt. Let's go. The in-debt derby. Barcelona, Man United.
Man, I can only just keep thinking about Barcelona selling off TV rights and, leveraging all these things so that they can afford to have this overinflated squad of people who just netted them the Europa League.
And all this money so they can go and lose out in the Europa League.
Maybe. I would like United to not win in the Europa League because I'd like them to focus more on just trying to improve and trying to actually, get top 4 for a change. But I have to double check this stat. I don't know if Robert Lewandowski's been at Old Trafford before. Interesting. But other draws and results or who's going to play who for the Europa League. Juventus play Nantes in France. Interesting, not quite as obviously interesting as Barcelona and Man United. You got Michelin plays Sporting over in Portugal. Sevilla plays PSG. RB Salzburg plays Roma. So Jose going up against an RB team. Shakhtar Donetsk plays Rennes. Leverkusen plays Monaco. Ajax plays Union Berlin. And I don't know if I have all of them. That is straight from the UEFA site, but Arsenal advanced, right?
On Europa? Yeah.
Yeah, but those were the dropouts don't play
this is the playoff round. Yeah, this is the playoff round. Yeah, correct. So the dropouts play these teams that finished in second or the dropouts of those in the Champions League. You are correct, Ron. Yep. It's like something looks very, very weird here. So then they'll play, and then these winners will mix into those that won their groups in the Europa League. So good call there. Interesting. All taking place in February. Not
crammed.
I'm sorry?
Crammed schedule.
But that's about when they would play these anyway, so it's not too much for them. They just kind of had to scrunch it in a little bit earlier because they would usually play until the end of November, where they had to scrunch this in earlier on this part of the season to get it in before November.
I mean, it's more so
early November.
Going to be scrunched everybody else's regular seasons that are being scrunched up. Yeah,
absolutely. WTF, mate? On one of our next episodes, we'll be covering the upcoming Winter World Cup as it all kicks off less than 2 weeks from today. We're about 13 days out. And while the U.S. men's national team roster squad gets announced this coming Wednesday, November 9th, so by the time you probably listen to this, it'll be announced. They're going to do that in New York City and will be broadcast at 5 p.m. on ESPN2. Now, today, though, one of those favorites of the tournament, and actually the favorite of the tournament to win it all, Brazil, just announced their World Cup roster. And let me tell you some of the names on this Brazilian World Cup roster.
It's not that good.
Yeah, it's like, could they battle against a Derby County? Like, come on, let's be serious here. Alisson of Liverpool, goalkeeper. Ederson of Man City, goalkeeper. Everton, Palmeiras, a Brazilian league player, is the third goalie on this Brazil team. Going on to defenders, Danilo, who plays for Juventus in the side. Alexandre, who plays for Juventus in this side. On loan to Sevilla and United, left back Alex Telles in the side. Thiago Silva, all 37, 6 years, 700 years, whatever he is, ages of him in this side. Marquinhos of PSG in this side. Eder Milito of Real Madrid in the side. Bremer of Juventus. So 3 Juventus defenders in this. And then you have Dani Alves, 37 years old, currently playing over in Pumas. So you have a 37-year-old and a 36-year-old in the back line there that could possibly play and start for Brazil. Now, I'll read off the midfielders, and then it's the forwards that you're like, God almighty. The midfielders, Casemiro of Manchester United, formerly of Real Madrid. Fabinho of Liverpool. Bruno Guimaraes, who's having a fantastic year with Newcastle United. Shredje, I think is kind of how it's said there in Brazil, but Fred for Manchester United gets in the squad. Luis Paqueta from West Ham, who they've been missing for a little bit of the year, and West Ham is a better team with him in the squad. Gets in the Brazilian squad, and then Everton Robinho Ribeiro. Again, sorry if I'm not getting these names correct. Of Flamengo, who plays mainly down there in Brazil. All the midfielders. So you have a good mix there of youth and veteran talent. All very formidable midfielders there. Then you get to the forwards. Listen to this bunch. Some roly-poly named Neymar for PSG, Vicinius Jr. for Real Madrid, Gabriel Jesus of Arsenal, formerly of Man City, gets in the squad. Antony, formerly of Ajax, now for Man United, gets in the squad. Rafinha, formerly of Leeds, now playing for Barcelona, gets in the squad. Richarlison, formerly of Everton, now for Tottenham, gets in the squad. Gabriel Martinelli makes the squad for Arsenal, and I think rightfully so. He's been a bright talent for that Arsenal squad, and gets in over the likes of Roberto Firmino, who did not make the squad for Liverpool. And then you have Rodrigo, also of Real Madrid, and then Pedro, who plays for Flamengo down there in Brazil, which is a top team in the Brazilian team. So you're going at any point you can face a front three of Neymar, Vicinius Jr., and I don't know, say Rodri. Rodrigo. Or you can face the front three of Vicinius Jr., Gabriel Jesus, and Antony. Or you could go, I don't know, Gabriel Jesus, Antony, and Rafinha. Like, it just, that's nuts.
Well, this has got Chelsea's owner drooling. He's like, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is all-star teams. This is what I want.
Yeah.
This is what I want right here. He's like, this is it.
Most teams. But if you guys haven't seen a lot of the players for Brazil that got announced for going to the World Cup, they've been posting various things on social media with the families, and they're all going nuts. And it's like a here in the States, like an NFL draft party where I'm going to pull up a hat and say, here's where the school I'm going to. That level of excitement. But that Brazil squad is the favorites to win the World Cup. And with a squad like that, from defense to midfielders to forwards, what a squad! And in the next few pods, we will kind of go more in depth with the World Cup. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting to experience a first ever Winter World Cup. Unfortunately, though, it will be sadly tainted by just corruption, money, death, and human rights issues that have really marred this tournament so far. And, we can't forget that. We will certainly kind of go over that a little bit more in future episodes. But more to come as we are 13 days out from the 2022 Qatar World Cup.
Boom. That wraps us up, ladies and jelly spoons. Off to our beer mentions from the pod. I had a Trooper, or one of the Trooper series, the Sun and Steel from Robinson Brewery, and more importantly, from Iron Maiden. What'd you guys have?
I had Reef Revival Session IPA from Big Storm Brewing and Clearwater, Florida.
I had the Lager Royale from Castle Danger Brewing in Two Harbors, Minnesota.
Perfect. And as always, follow us, thebrutifulgame.com. Follow us on Untapped. Follow us on Instagram, on the Twitters. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. However you listen to us, take a screen grab of it, get it to us. We'll get you a koozie or something in the mail. Ferris, do you have your quote book?
I do not, because it is at Ron's, and I am currently at my place. But I can't help but laugh at how perfect I am.
Is that a Zlatan quote?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Perfect. I do not have a dad joke prepped for this episode, but Ferris, Ron, we talked earlier. You've had there's a weird bit of form happening for Chelsea. And I don't know if you see it, they announced that they've set up a call center for fans who are troubled by the current form. The number is 0800 10 10 10. Calls are charged at peak rate for overseas users, so don't use that. And once again, the number is 0800 10 10 10. There you go. So if you feel the need to call, go right ahead. Come on, Ferris. That was a good one.
No, no.
Come on, man.
No.
Yeah. You know you love
It
that.
should have been like, what's the 4-8? Okay, what's this?
Oh, the Cars for
song?
Kids.
1-800 cars for kids.
Hey,
yeah, you could have easily played that in with a 1-0.
hey, Ron. You know what's better?
The ride. I don't know.
It's
The
Ron,
Ride Sally, not Ride Sally. What the hell's the song called?
as Ron tries to flip me off. You know what's even better, Ron?
So annoyed right now.
I
He
stole
is
the-
so annoyed.
I stole that from a Manchester United joke list. So normally it's about them. So do with that what you will.
It's about Man United.
Yeah.
I usually wear a soccer jersey on this pod. I'm wearing a Tom Brady Super Bowl winning Bucks jersey because at least one goat knows how to win on a Sunday opposed to
Yeah, here and there he
a
does.
little bit of shade.
All right, ladies and jelly spoons. Love the beer. Cherish the game. The Brewtiful Game.
Cilantro.
Boom.
What a
London is red.
for now.